In 1957, Detroit was a battlefield of steel, a place where American automakers fought to create the most powerful machines on Earth. Chevrolet had its Fury 8, Ford had the Thunderbird Special, but Chrysler, they delivered something entirely different. It wasn't just an engine, it was a declaration of raw power. The 392 Hemi. One roar was enough to tell you this wasn't built for comfort. It was born to crush rivals on both the street and the strip. It was the peak of mechanical brilliance, a symbol of an era when horsepower was worshipped like a religion. Yet few realized that the mighty 392 Hemi was silenced by Chrysler itself, right at the height of its reign. Why would anyone end perfection? The answer will make you see Detroit's golden age in a whole new light. The story of the 392 Hemi didn't begin on the racetrack. It began in war. During World War II, Chrysler wasn't just building cars, they were building power. The company became part of America's military engine program, designing power plants for tanks, ships, and even aircraft. It was in those years that Chrysler's engineers learned a vital lesson. To win, you needed durability and performance working together, no compromises allowed. When the war ended, they brought that philosophy home to Detroit. Cars were no longer just transportation, they were symbols of national strength. And from that belief came a new name, firepower, introduced in 1951. The name itself sounded like a battle cry, the power of fire. Firepower wasn't just an engineering project, it was Chrysler's declaration to redefine American power. While Ford and GM chased affordability and volume, Chrysler pursued the harder path, to build engines that were tougher, stronger, and fundamentally different from anything else in Detroit. From the 331 to the 354, each firepower engine carried forward that wartime precision, using aerospace-grade materials, thicker castings, and tighter machining tolerances. By 1957, the 392 Hemi stood as the most refined and complete version of Chrysler's firepower lineage. Every component was meticulously tuned for balance between power, durability, and combustion efficiency, something no other V8 of the era could match. This powerhouse displaced 392 cubic inches, 6.4 liters, with a compression ratio from 9.25 to 1 to 10 to 1, producing 325 to 390 horsepower and up to 450 pound-feet of torque. It featured forged pistons, steel connecting rods, massive cast iron heads, and an OHV single-cam design, all sitting atop an iron block weighing nearly 740 pounds. Heavy? Yes, but that very mass made it nearly indestructible. The secret was its hemispherical combustion chamber. With angled valves and a centered spark plug, the air-fuel mixture ignited faster and burned more evenly, allowing higher RPMs and cooler operation than traditional wedge-head designs. Beyond brute power, the 392 ran with surprising smoothness. Chrysler engineers used a forged crankshaft and precision balancing to tame vibration. The result wasn't just noise, it was rhythm, a deep metallic pulse that sent chills down every spine nearby. On the streets, cars like the Chrysler 300C and 300D, equipped with the 392 Hemi, were called gentleman beasts, luxury machines that could obliterate anything with a single push of the throttle. On the track, however, it quickly became the undisputed king, dominating everything from NASCAR to NHRA drag racing. Legends like Don Garlits, Art Chrisman, and Gene Adams all chose the 392 Hemi for their early dragsters. many of which broke the 170-mile-per-hour barrier. People said that when it started, the 392 didn't just roar, it thundered. The sound could shake the ground and make spectators cover their ears from the raw pressure. What racers loved most was its durability and heat resistance. The 392 could run pass after pass, hitting redline without throwing rods or melting pistons. In a world where victory was measured in thousandths of a second, the Hemi became the one engine everyone trusted. But when the 392 Hemi was dominating every track and strip across America, no one believed Chrysler would dare to pull the trigger on its own masterpiece. Yet by late 1958, it happened. The 392 was dead, and the reason behind it left the performance world in disbelief. The truth was, the 392 Hemi was too perfect to survive in a changing economy. Its hemispherical head design delivered breathtaking power, but at a staggering production cost. The complex heads, the heavy block, and the labor-intensive assembly made every Hemi-equipped car nearly twice as expensive as a standard V8. Inside Chrysler, accountants began to panic. America was shifting. 1958's mild recession, rising fuel prices, and a growing demand for smaller, more efficient cars changed everything. In that climate, a 740-pound fuel-thirsty beast was no longer a symbol of pride, it was a liability. To cut costs, Chrysler replaced it with the RB series wedge-head engines, simpler, cheaper, and easier to build. Executives called it the logical step, but to engineers and racers, it was a crime against mechanical art. They couldn't believe that the same company that built America's most powerful engine had just killed it with their own hands. Drag racing legends like Don Garlits, Art Chrisman, Gene Adams, and Tommy Evo immediately took action. They scoured junkyards, garages, and forgotten cars in search of surviving 392 blocks. Some bought dozens of engines at once just to keep the legend alive. This underground wave became known as the junkyard Hemi movement, a brotherhood of speed fanatics turning discarded metal into championship machines. The miracle was that even without Chrysler's support, the 392 kept winning. Throughout the 1960s, hundreds of home-built dragsters continued to run 392s, shattering record after record. Don Garlits once said, "The 392 never let me down, even when the company did." In 1964, after nearly 6 years of silence, Chrysler unveiled the 426 Hemi, a colossal power plant soon nicknamed the Elephant Engine. But beneath its massive block lived the spirit of the 392. From the valve angles and centered spark plug to the same hemispherical combustion philosophy. The 426 wasn't a replacement. It was an evolution of a legend. Built with one mission to dominate NASCAR, the 426 Hemi featured enlarged cylinders, improved intake flow, and an increased displacement of 426 cubic inches, 7.0 liters. The result was over 425 horsepower and total dominance. At the 1964 Daytona 500, Plymouths and Dodges powered by the new Hemi crushed the field, leading journalists to call it power from hell. But here's the truth. The 426 could never have existed without the 392. It was the grueling years of experimentation in the 1950s, the era when the 392 proved the hemispherical design could withstand brutal RPMs, that gave Chrysler the courage to bring the beast back. But what few people know is that the 392 Hemi was never actually designed for racing. When it was introduced, Chrysler aimed it at a completely different crowd. Buyers of the Imperial, New Yorker, and Chrysler 300C. The upper class who valued luxury, not the smoke and fury of the drag strip. To Chrysler executives, the Hemi wasn't a weapon for victory. It was a technological statement, a way to position the brand above Ford and Chevrolet. The 392 was meticulously built, smooth running, and powerful enough to project authority in silence. No one at Chrysler headquarters imagined that within months, racers would be tearing it apart, tuning it, and pushing it to the very edge of physics. Ironically, it was this overbuilt, unintended perfection that turned the 392 into an accidental legend. Engineers later admitted they had designed it as a luxury engine that would never die, not one that could propel dragsters to 170 miles per hour. Once word spread that the 392 could survive extreme RPMs without failure, racers rushed to exploit it. Chrysler was stunned. The company had never promoted it for racing, yet it became the weapon that destroyed its competitors. More than half a century after its demise, the name 392 Hemi made an unexpected comeback, not in a museum, but roaring down American streets. In 2005, Chrysler revived the Dodge Charger and Challenger SRT-8, carrying a bold statement that stunned the muscle car world. The 392 was back. Though the design had evolved, the modern 6.4-liter Hemi, now featuring aluminum heads, variable valve timing, and electronic fuel injection, the spirit remained pure 1957. The same cubic inches, the same philosophy of unrelenting power, the same soul of those who believed that speed should have character. Cars like the Challenger 392, Charger Scat Pack, Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT, and Durango SRT all carried that DNA. They weren't just powerful, they were emotional time machines, evoking the era when the V8 reigned supreme. The deep, thunderous growl of the modern 392 instantly recalls the glory days of old Detroit. What's fascinating is that in an age of electrification, the name 392 still stands defiant, a reminder that mechanical power will never go out of style. More than its horsepower figures, the 392 endures because of the feeling it evokes, the raw human connection between driver and machine. From the racetracks of 1957 to the boulevards of 2020, the 392 Hemi never truly died. It simply evolved, sleeker, smarter, yet forever carrying the spirit of that refined beast that once made America fall in love with speed. Every time the 392 Hemi roars, it feels like the heartbeat of an era returning, an age when Detroit dreamed big, took risks, and feared nothing. It wasn't just an engine, it was the pride of American engineering, where passion and power became one. If you've ever heard that growl, smelled burning fuel, or felt that vibration through the wheel, you know why it's called the soul of power. Tell us what you think. Does the 392 Hemi deserve to be remembered as Chrysler's greatest engine ever? And if you believe this legend still lives, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to keep that roar alive. Every subscription is another ignition that keeps this legend running.